Hey everyone, welcome again to MJS Coaching Football. Thank you for watching my channel. I do really appreciate it. So today, in my continuing cover 10 three-match videos, I'm going to show you how in our cover 10 three-match, we cover the concept known as Scat. Okay, so cover 10 three-match versus a 2x2 set. Now, Scat can only be done on one side because it's technically a three-man concept, as you'll see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show it to you, the Scat concept on both the match and the zone sides, okay, when I get to the diagram part of it. So it's kind of unique for that reason. Over here, I'll go through the match side assignments, based upon their cover 10 three-match rules. And then I'll do the same on the zone side. Okay, so the unique aspect of the Scat concept is it has both a 1-2 exchange in the low exchange zone and a 2-3 exchange on the low exchange zone, right? So it brings all those things into play for us here. Okay, so first, the match side, our dime, right? So Liz is the pass strength call, which means this is the match side, right? So the dime is going to end up playing first the sit by number 2, who actually, right, starts off as number 1. That's the first exchange. But then he'll end up covering the bubble from number 3 because he ends up being the new number 2, right? Remember, this is going to bring in two different exchanges, a 1-2 and a 2-3. The field corner is going to end up covering the corner route from number 1, right? Who started off as number 2, but ends up as the number 1, right? That 1-2 exchange. The backer, who matches 3, will start off on the bubble by 3, but end up on the sit because the sit ends up ultimately being number 3. And I will take care of all of that for you when we get to the diagram. Okay? And then the free safety, per usual, is going to spin middle, Roger, because a Liz call equals a Roger. So he'll do that, making a carry call. Pre-snap, which means he'll carry a vertical by number 2, but then obviously we'll see what happens because the zone side is entirely different than the match side. Okay? So speaking of that, on the zone side, the Rover's still going to be the read rush defender after he knocks back and reroutes the tight end. The Mike is our hook to curl who's going to dabble combo number 3. Okay, so we'll see how that plays out in this Scat concept. The boundary corner is going to end up being the deep third, clue and 2. So 2 will tell him, along with number 1, where he needs to be in his deep third. So the initial vertical stem by number 2, in a way, is being bracketed by the field free safety and the whip, as you'll see. Okay, so again, as always, the way we play it on the zone side is entirely different to the match side, right? And then the whip will be screwing down. Okay, excuse me, when I say bracket, I should have said free safety boundary corner. My mistake. Free safety boundary corner. I have 2 deep defenders. The whip, meanwhile, screwing down on the snap. If it's run, right, he's got the force, but on pass, he's our curl flat guy. So we'll see how he, in Dabo combo with the Mike, end up playing the sit and the number 3 bubble by the running back. Okay, because the same exchanges 1-2, 2-3 that happen on the match side also happen on the zone side. Okay, so I'll show you how all that all plays out as well. So now we're to the diagram portion of things. Okay, so I'm going to utilize both black and red colored markers to try and make it a little bit easier to follow. So the Scat concept itself, right? Number 1 sits at 5. Okay? Number 2 runs the corner. So see what happens here? Now he's 2 and he's 1. Oops, sorry. Number 3 running the bubble or the flare, whatever works for your terminology. I tend to call it a flare when it's the running back. When they do it in a 3-by-1 set, 3 wide receivers, I call it a bubble because it is a bubble, right? So when it's the running back, we call it a flare. See where he is now? He becomes number 2, and now he ultimately is number 3. So now let's follow the rules, right? So now I'll bring in the green marker. Dime. 2 sit. So as he expands, he's going to see number 1 coming to him. He's going to get a lightning call, right? Except number 2 sits. There's nothing to carry through the zone. He's not continuing, right? So if he was, he would run with him, but he sits. So the dime sits. Now, meanwhile, you get this route here. All of these defenders are reading their uncovered guard, the surface key, who is showing them that it's pass. So now the backer starts to go cover number 3, realizing that we have a sit route here. So now the dime will pass off to the flare, and the backer will take the sit. Because he's number 3 now, and he's number 2. And you just rep it, right? They talk about the air raid. All they do is rep their route concepts. So when you play match coverage, whether it's match quarters or 3 match, rep the route concepts against your coverage so your players get used to seeing it, used to communicating it. So yes, it's a lightning, but because he sits, he can play off to the flare route of the running back because the backers are going to take the sit. There's no zone to carry it through. He stopped. He sat in your zone, right? So that's how it's played on the match side. Meanwhile, okay, the boundary corner has made the lightning call. He moves in to now carry the vertical of number 2, who is actually now number 1. And so now, okay, he will top or cap the route, the corner route of the new number 1. He's going to work in to carry it, then to reads the stem to the corner. He's going to cap or top the route, right? Cap the corner. So because of what's happening here, normally the sit is vacated and it's an easy throw for the quarterback. But because of the initial lightning and then now the jersey's moving underneath, he's going to look to here and he should see that the route is capped by our field corner. Okay? So that's how we play it on the match side. And I'm hoping that the red numbers, see how it finishes? The corner is 1, the sit is 3, and the flare is number 2. That's why I did that in red for you. Okay, those are the exchanges that I talked about. So I'm going to leave that up. Now we'll come over to the zone side as if they were running scat to the zone side. Frequently they'll play number 1 a little bit tighter, so he'll sit down here, but I'll leave the spacing the same for now. So we'll say the sit route will roughly split the difference between 1's original alignment and where number 2, the tight end, is. Okay? So there's the sit. So initially, right, it's 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to do that and a dash line to separate the two, because remember, I'm going to leave this diagram so you can see the two side by side. Okay, we'll start with the rover. He is always taught to knock back the tight end. We are excellent at knocking back and holding up and rerouting tight ends. I mean, that's the job of a rover. That's why it's a specific body type. See other videos, non-subscribers, push the button. So after he finishes rerouting the tight end, right? So these guys are all reading their uncovered guard for surface, who's showing pass. Okay, he's an automatic read rush. Normally we have it built in. Defensive end on the side of the rover is going to rush through the B gap. So that's what we'll have him do. So now he's a read rusher. Read in the sense if he can beat with speed over the top, right? Run the circle, he'll do that. If this offensive tackle is up and even with him, we'll let him rip underneath because we have pretty good pressure coming up there through the B gap, which should be occupying the guard big time. Okay, so that's the read. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about how we handle this. So he's going to be here, then here, right? So the same thing. He goes from number 1 to number 2. Ultimately, he becomes number 2. He becomes number 3. He becomes number 1, right? But we're on the zone side. Just want to keep it consistent. So how does this work? All right, well, talk to you about the role. Let's talk about our hook curl Dabo defender here. While we do that, we'll talk to you about the screw down safety. So as he's screwing down, right, see the safeties are spinning to the right. Roger. He's the curl flat. He's the hook curl. Man, hook is typically, from the hash mark to the football, the original alignment of the football, roughly, right? The curl area is from outside the hash to maybe the top of the numbers, a yard or two above the numbers, depending on where the ball is. And then obviously flat goes to the sideline. And you factor in a 5-yard no cover zone, you're really looking at about 10 to 15 yards, give or take, right? So as he's coming down, if he's able to get hands and reroute the tight end further, great, but that's not really what he's looking to do. And the tight end's certainly not going to run into him and make his job easy. To answer that question. So as he's coming down, he's going to see the sit route. So now let me go back here to the boundary corner, right? He's not going to make a lightning call. But what he is going to do is he's going to tempo. When he sees the sit route, he's going to work in to the vertical stem that he has here of number 2, the tight end. He's got the middle. So he's made the carry call. So he's working towards carrying that if it's a straight vertical or if it's a post, right? He's working to carry it on the outside. Well, technically, he'd be walling it, right? Hence, there's the bracket on the number 2. But what he's really looking for is the corner route. He'll carry a vertical or a post, and they'll outside, inside bracket it. But when it becomes a corner, he'll now get on top and cap the corner route over here. Right, so it's an outside inside bracket initially, walling it and carrying it, and then ultimately it's there. So big time is making sure that you cover the sit and the flare in the zone side. So now here's where that Dabo combo comes in. Okay, there's no threat to the hook area, okay, or even the curl for that matter, but there's a big time threat to the flat. So what ends up happening is he will expand to the sit, through the sit, to the flare route by the running back, right? So as he's expanding with the running back, he's going to come across the sit. So just like over here, that will bump the whip to pick up the flare, and he will take the sit route. He's the outermost defender of the two. He'll take the outermost route, which is the new number 2, the flare route, because the sit's the new number 3. So he ends up taking 3, the sit. He ends up taking 2, the flare on the zone side, right? Curl flat. So you take the curl first, which would be the sit, on your way to the flat. Now, obviously, if the ball is thrown, it's going to tackle the sit right now. Try and dislodge the ball. You're not always going to be in a position to intercept the pass. He's coming from depth, screwing down. This is typically a fairly quick tempo pass play. Okay, it's not necessarily usually a 5-step pass play. Okay, so that's how it would be played over here. So similar yet different, right? This corner is on an island, making the call so that these guys end up comboing the sit and the flare, but he's alone capping the corner. Over on the zone side, we've got an inside-outside bracket carrying a walling until it becomes the corner, so then he'll tempo back and read the quarterback, okay? And then we're going to be able to combo the sit and the flare, similar but different to the way we did on the match side. Okay, so that is how we defend the scat concept. Okay, a sit corner route with either a flare by the running back, or if it were 3 wide receivers, a bubble by number 3 in our cover 10 3 match. Again, I thank you for watching my channel. I do really appreciate it. Non-subscribers, I hope you push that button.